Hey guys, my name is Hither Mann and I am in Monaco where I live, as well as in the UK. I'm originally from the UK, moved to Monaco in 2019 and I became the world's first financial trader and educator back in 2012. But I started in business in 2004, originally as a medical professional, but I pivoted to real estate and then I went into financial trading, which opened my eyes up, both of those industries, on how when you become your own boss, you never want to work for anyone else, you never will look back, and ultimately that's what led me to become a mentor in 2012, where I became the first female in the world teaching people how to become a financial trader as a female. Trust me, that's like a big deal because there are just not enough women doing what I do, and that's why I'm talking about it, screaming about it. In fact, probably the only one in Monaco talking about this thing, because trust me, all the women here, or most of them, are happily married to some really old guy called Barry and just have kids, and that's a majority, not all of them. I know some fantastic women here who are very entrepreneurial, make their own money, but trust me, they're like not 1%, and that's why I really do stick out like a sore thumb when I come to Monaco and I do stuff like this. So bear with me if you have any random people behind me that you see, just bear with me, and thank you guys for watching. So why did I start this fund? Honestly, it is exactly the same reason that I became a mentor in 2012, which was I wanted to be the change that I wished to see in this world. There were no females teaching financial trading. I went to this summit once where there was loads of men talking about money and all the fun things, and there's me thinking, where's the women? There was one female and she spoke all about how to dress. And I thought there's got to be more substance to women on a speaker stage and on the mentorship stage. And of course, those kind of women didn't want to do the mentorship, and they didn't want to be like this female powerhouse and scream all about it. And that's why I do what I do. It's as uncomfortable as it is at times. I love what I do because I show other women and I encourage other women to also stand up and do these amazing things in the world of financial whatever, So now, starting a £250 million fund, Monaco is a big part of that, and I want to explain why. So once again, with the whole 250 million fund, why did I not start at 50 million, which is much easier, or 100 million? The reason I went for 250 is because I really want to make an impact. It raises eyebrows, as a lot of my male counterparts have told me, that if you're raising 250 million in this day and age, 2024, it is going to raise eyebrows. And yes, that's exactly what I want, because I do not want people to think that I, a female fund manager, I'm doing a small scale thing. I want to go big. But reason why I didn't do $1 billion or even more, because that kind of money is around, and if you tap into the right investor network, it can be made possible. But the reason I didn't go too big, this is a financial economic lesson, is you want to create alpha. Now, alpha means outperformance of the market. That means if you've got a big pot of money, you've got to allocate it to lots of projects to make sure that it gets to work and creates a return. Now, if you've got too much money in that pot, i.e. that fund, you're going to have something called dry powder, which means you are just going to think, oh, I made, imagine I had a $500 million fund, for example, and I spent 250 million on good projects, like projects I really cherry picked. And then the other 250 million, I'm left with like, oh my God, I've got to get rid of it, because you have to get rid of that money to get it to work. Otherwise, an investor's going to think, oh, I could have just left that money in the bank. Why did I give it to you? So investment managers, fund managers have to put their money to work through allocation, put them into an investment. And I don't want to have too much money left over called dry powder. That will mean I will be putting it into bad projects just to make something stick. And eventually those bad projects will bring down the performance of the good projects. So I could make, let's say for argument's sake, 50% on the good projects, and if I had bad projects that did minus 75, I'm down minus 25, which is never going to happen, fingers crossed, because I never want to be negative, and my fund is designed so that it will always create safe and steady returns. But my point is, I didn't go too big, but I went big enough to raise eyebrows. Point number 3 is it's all about your team. Now, your team in the fund is as crucial as a team in a company. If you want to pick a great company to get investment, you need to have a great management team, you need to have a great, founder, and then not just a founder, there's got to be some technical person, there's got to be a marketing team, there's got to be everything. And so for me, in a fund, it's a bit different. in a fund, you need deal flow. Deal flow is a big thing, and something that deal flow means you've got a pipeline of potential investment opportunities, and that's crucial, because if you are raising money and you don't have potential investment opportunities on the table, you're not going to look very attractive to investors. Investors' first question is, where's the deal flow? What's the quality of the deal flow? So make sure you have deal flow. For me, it came from my social media. I've been doing this for over 10 years, got loads of founders there, and my network of VCs and other investment kind of companies that give me their deal flow, including, I'm so excited to say it, Y Combinator. I have got links to that incredible institution, and I'm going to get deal flow from incredible people from all around the world. So my deal flow was a big tick. Second big question that investors will ask you is your investment strategy. Now, my investment strategy was very complex in a good way. I really thought about it. It took me a long time. I've done my training from LSE, Harvard, and Oxford being my favorite. And all of this training helped me to understand investment thesis better. I actually even got accepted to an invite-only training in Stanford University on the Stanford University campus. And I'm currently thinking about whether to go or not, because it's a very, it's a commitment in September, which, and it's a costly one, but you can't even just pay to get in. You have to get accepted to then pay to get in. I secretly wanted the scholarship, but that's a whole conversation. They maybe thought, oh, she wears Chanel, she can't have a scholarship. Who knows? But I didn't get the scholarship, which I'm gutted about. So it's either you pay a lot of money, which is $25,000 for 10 days. It's not like a full couple of years university education or anything. It's 10 days, $25,000. And I'm now weighing out, I only got told this today, by the way, that I'm weighing out whether I should check out, what kind of network, because if for me it's all about the network, I will pay that money if it means I'm going to have a network that will bring me another $2.5 billion, for example, in the future, or in future investments and future funds. So that's another key point that I wanted to bring to you, i.e. investment thesis. And why would I go to Stanford anyway? If I did, it would add on to the knowledge I already have from my Oxford, Harvard, LSE education, which technically I think I know enough, but you never know it all, right? So if it's either about the network and your education, and you need to know how to identify a great investment opportunity, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Next, and really the hardest part. Look, there's so many parts to this, and I just want to round it off here because I know this video could get so long and I want to keep it short to the point. The hardest bit is actually building rapport with the investors beforehand. Now, I was fairly lucky here because when I moved in Monaco, I got here before the pandemic. I got here in 2019, a whole year before effectively, and I wasn't planning to pitch anything. I was just literally just becoming a resident. I just wanted to get to know the culture. I was getting to know the people. I had no agenda here, literally no agenda. So when I was going to all the investment meetings that I got introduced to, I thought, this is interesting. Let me see what kind of people come to Monaco and pitch. And I was literally looking to put my money to work. So I came in as a pure VC angle. And that was very good because I got known in this VC network of, she's one of us, she's an investor, she's a female. Oh, and she's made her money herself. So slowly, it took me about 4 or 5 years now to this point to build some really solid relationships. And it's all about positioning. Positioning means you're not going in asking, oh, can I have your money, please? You don't know me, but I'm going to tell you all about me, and it's kind of a difficult positioning. Your best positioning comes from, number one, relationship building, number two, social media, branding, etc. They can see that you're active and doing stuff. Like if someone jumps on my social media, I'm posting quite regularly. I'm talking about what I'm doing. It's all very congruent. And number three, the strongest thing in the world is recommendation. And when my network opens up doors, suddenly you're talking to billionaires that would never normally put themselves out there or available to speak to anyone otherwise. So to summarize how and why you should become a fund manager, honestly, you don't have to do it. It is not something that is a casual exercise. It really needs to be an intention behind it. For me, it is based on the lack of women in the private equity world, a lack of funding to female founders. By the way, I'm not just investing in female founders or just diverse founders. I'm investing in everyone, but with obviously eyes open to opportunities, and I'm helping mentor more founders that are from the communities that are underrepresented right now. So I'm going to do as much as I can to help change the stats for me. Secondly, you must have a great team. You know, everything is based on how good is your team. My investment committee and my fund itself, the people I closed on it, that was the hardest bit. So the hardest challenge, the biggest challenge in setting up this fund was actually finding the right people. You don't want just an all boys club, right? Because that's the rest of the financial world. I needed to find women. I needed to find people from diverse or underrepresented backgrounds. And I struggled. I genuinely struggled to find women that were talented enough and who wanted to be part of this. Not that many women want to do that. But of course, I don't know every female in the world, and therefore I'm making myself as an example to others. I do it because I want to see more women set up a fund and do it because they watched this YouTube video or they saw me talk about it on social media. You know, that's ultimately the reason I'm doing it. So your big why, a great team, and it took me so long to pick that team. It took me like months. And then the relationship with investors is number 3, the biggest thing. Deal flow, I argue, could probably be before that because you need great deal flow, like I said. But ultimately, it is making sure with the investors you have that relationship built up beforehand, or you can get a referral to it. Now, something I do in the Billionaire Project, if you want to ever set up a fund in the future, and if I agree with the thesis, which is called the investment strategy, then of course I will open doors to investors as well. So anyway, I hope that was useful for you. I just wanted to share a sneak peek of what I do. Otherwise, you know, I would just end up being a mum to like kids here, you know, and this is me like standing out in Monaco because there's no females doing what I'm doing in Monaco, let alone many places. But I do love London. I love other countries that are very dynamic with, you know, business. So thank you guys for watching this. I really, really hope you guys learned something. And God, I think some of you should be counting the amount of strollers that walk past, because this place is just like full of parents, you know, and that's why, yeah, sometimes Monaco can be boring. But the bit that's never boring is the investor part, the business, i.e. discussions. But my deal flow, by the way, all comes from outside of Monaco. So anyway, see you soon. Subscribe to my video if you like this. Ask me some questions in the comments. I know this video was a little bit like deep and not the general how to get rich type of video. This is a much more deeper conversation. I'm happy to teach you this. Maybe in the Billionaire Project training that I do, you can become part of it. So if you're interested in any of this, or you want to raise capital for your venture, click on the links below in the description and you'll see a free link where you can just literally tell me all about you and your company and what you're trying to raise and how much, and I will personally look at it because I love good deal flow. Thanks guys, from me and all the screaming kids behind me. I hope you had a great day so far, and I hope your day only gets better from now on. Bye.